Hello guys, welcome back to this tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to take a look at the different methods that are available in the DateTime class and how do we use it. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to store a DateTime value in a DateTime variable. So how do we do that? First thing is we need to create a DateTime value. So how do we create it? We use this DateTime class and there is a new instance method that is available and the different variation in the method. One of the method takes a date variable, one method takes the date like year, month and day, and one of the method take year, month, day, or etc. And we are going ahead and use this method in order to create a date time value. We are taking year, month, day, hour, minute, and second. So we are going to pass the year. So we are going to say that the year is 2024. Month is, let's say, 4. The day is 22. Hour is 8. Minute is, let's say, 10 minutes. And this is 00 seconds. Now this is a date time value that we have created. Now we are going to store this value in a variable. Now the variable type would be what? Date time. And let's say the name of the variable is my date time one. My date time one. Now what value will store in this my date time? We'll take a look at it and using the debug statement. So we can say that system.debug print the value of this my date time one variable. My date time one. Sorry, it's going to be in inverted commas. Plus is used for concatenation and you can copy from here. Semicolon. Okay, my date timer. So now if you go ahead and hit the execute button, let's see what happens. Debug only. So the output would be, this is what the output is. 2024 0422 240. So it returned you in a GMT format. So this is GMT format. So if you look at the definition of this method, what does this method? It constructs the datetime from integer representation of the specified year, month, day, hour, minute, and second in the local time zone. It will return in the GMT format. So it returns the value in the GMT format. So this is what this method does. Now let's go ahead and look at the different methods that are available in this DateTime class. So let's say we wanted to add hours to this DateTime. So how do we will do? We will say my DateTime one dot of add hours. There is method available called add hours, and let's say we add 2 hours to it, and the new value that we are going to get after adding 2 hours, we are going to store that in this date time variable called my date time 2. So this is the name of the variable. So let's go ahead and use the debug statement to calculate the value of this my date time. System dot debug my date time 2 plus is used for concatenation, and you can copy from here. Let's, according to me, the output should be, since this returns you what? This one returns you 2024 04 22, and the hours are 02 40 and 00. So I am adding 2 hours in this. What will be the output? It should be 4 because we are adding 2 hours. So it should be 4:40:00. So let's go ahead and hit the execute button and see what's the output is. Go to debug only. So this is the output. Yes, our output matches. Our assumption is correct. This add hours, what it is doing? It is adding hours to this hour part of this date. Okay, so this hour part of the date is what is 8, which is nothing but in the GMT format. So we are adding 2 format that will become 2 4. Similarly, we have add days. Similarly, we have method to add months. We have method to add years. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. So let's say we are going to add days. My date time 1 dot add days. Let's say we wanted to add 4 days. And what will be the output? We are going to store in a variable of the type date time, because we are adding 4 days to this date. My date time 3, and we will store the value of this after adding 4 days. We'll store in this variable my date time 3. Now we will go ahead and print the value system.debug, and we will say my date time 3 is equals to, then we are going to print the value. Then what should be the value here? I am adding 4 days to the my date time 1. So what will be the output? But 4 days will get added in this. New date time would be 22 plus 4 becomes 26. This will become 26 because we are adding 4 days to it. This is the days part, this is the time part. So we are adding 4 days to it. Let's go and hit the execute. Debug only. You are right. We do not touch anything else. We changed the date. We only have added the 4 days. So the new date becomes 2024 0426. Similarly, we have methods like add year and add month. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Add months. And as per your guess, it is correct. It is going to add months to the month part. So I'm saying my date time one add months. Let's say I wanted to add 5 months, and whatever this new date time value is going to be, we are going to store in this variable date time my date time 4. So this is the name of the variable, and this is of the type of date time. After we have added 5 months to this date, we will store that value in this variable. So what will be the output? So we'll add 5 months to this. So it will become the ninth month. 4 to 9. All I have do is this, I've only added the 5 months to this date to this month. So now I will print the value system.debug my date time 4 equals to, now copy from here, semicolon, and hit the execute button. And let's see what is the output. Debug only. So the output is 2024-09 and the day is 22. So our assumption was right. 2024-09-22. Nothing happened to the time. So similarly, we have a method to add years. Very simple. We are going to say that my date time one dot of add years. Let's say you wanted to add 2 years, and whatever the new value of this, we are going to store in the variable of the type date time, and we'll call this variable as my date time 5. My date time 5, and we are going to print now what is going to store in this new variable. So let's do system dot debug my date time 5 is equals to, let's copy from here, and with a semicolon. So what will be the output? The output would be, now we are adding 2 years. So 2 years will become 2026. 2026. 2026, and the date and the time remains the same. So now if I go ahead and hit the execute button, let's see what happens. Debug only. Yes, it added 2 years to the year component of this date time variable value. So 2026 04-22, and the time remains same. So these are the different methods that are available. Now there's another method available called, if you are only interested in the date part of this date time. So if you are not interested in the time, all you want to get is the date part of this date time. So how you will do it? So in order to do that, what we are going to do is there is a date method available which only gives you the date part of the date time. Sorry, my date time one, my date time one. I am only interested in the date part by using this date method, and whatever the value that is returned and the value of the type is of date. We are only fetching the date part of it. So this variable will create the another variable called my date one is equals to my date time one dot of date. Now what this method will return, it will only give you the date, but the output and the time would be just 000. So okay, this will return you the date. Now if I go ahead and do a system.debug here, let's see what happens. System.debug date is, then go ahead and print the value of the variable. Let's see what the output is. My date one semicolon and hit the execute button. Let's see what happens. Debug only. From this date time value, we only fetch the date part. So 2024 04/22. The time is just 000. Okay. So this is what this date method does. Now one last method which is very important and you will probably will use when you are dealing with time. And time is this the format method. Now what this format method does, as per the presentation that we looked at it earlier, it converts the date to the local time zone and returns the converted data in the form of a string. So let's go ahead and take a look this at this format method. So now we will create another date time. And let's say new date time, new date time one is equals to date time dot instance will pass the year 2024. Let's say the month is 4th. So the January will represent 1, February is going to be 2. So the indexing will not be from 0, okay? So Jan means 1, February means 2, March means 3, April means 4, and so on. Then December would means 12. So the next one would be the day. So let's say 15th and the time, let's say 5, 10, and 20 seconds. So this is the year, this is the month, this is the day, this is the hour, this is the minute, this is the second. So now here, let's go ahead and first display the exact value. System dot debug new date time is new date time is plus new date time one. Can copy from here, then semicolon. Now then we will do is we will also use this format method on this variable, and let's see what this format method does. So this format method will return you in a string new date time one dot format. So whatever the value is, we will store it in the string variable. So we'll say string formatted date time. And now we'll go ahead and print the value of this variable, formatted date time. And let's see what the value is. System dot debug formatted date time is, you can copy paste from here. So let's take a look at it. So what we have done so far is we have created a new date time value by using this new instance method. So there is a new instance method. We are using this method in order to create a date time value, and we are storing that value in this variable. Then we are displaying the value of this variable. And the next thing is we are using a format method which is available in the DateTime class. And what this format method does, it converts the date time into a string format, and we are storing it in the value in this variable, and then we just displaying the value of this variable formatted date time. So let's take a look at this by executing and see what the output is, what the output of the program is. So this is how the output looks like. So we have already taken a look till the line number 12. So now let's look at the line 14. Now 14 is, what is going to 14 do? This line is going to give the output to 2024 414, and the time is 23:40 20. So it's in a GMT format. Next thing is it gives you in a string format 15/4 2024. You can take a look at it. 5:10 a.m. So that's correct. So 5:10 a.m. This is what it gives you. And now let's go ahead and change this to, let's say, 15 and see what happens. And change it to 15. Let's say what the output of the program should now. So if I hit the execute button, debug only, it will give you in PM because it's 15. So 15 becomes 3 p.m. So these are the different methods that are available in the daytime. There are more methods, but we are not going to cover all that. I've already given you the reference that you can use to learn about different date time. These are the methods that you can use in your day-to-day work if you're dealing with time zones and date time in Salesforce. So these are the class that you can take a look at. So go ahead and practice more of these examples, and you will get a good feel of how to use these data types and what are the different methods that are available and how to use those methods. So in the next tutorial, we'll talk about another primitive data type called string, which is also very, very common, and you will use it a lot in Salesforce. So we'll talk about that in the next tutorial. I will see you then. Bye. Have a good day.